The cry in the alley. The night was cold and the rain fell in thin, sharp lines. Most people had already gone home. The streets were empty, shops were closed. Streetlights blinked weakly, casting long shadows. A human man named Jalen walked alone, holding a bag of groceries. He was tired after work and just wanted to reach home. As he passed an alley near the back of a closed store, he stopped. He heard something. It was soft, weak, like a whisper mixed with a sob. "Help. Please." Jalen froze. His eyes narrowed as he looked into the dark alley. He took a few steps forward. A rusty bin stood on one side, with broken crates around it. A piece of cloth moved slightly, just enough for him to notice. And then he saw her. A small figure was hiding behind the crates. She was curled up, arms around her knees. Her skin was pale violet and thin. Her long ears drooped down. She wasn't human. She was a child, an alien child. Her eyes looked at him, wide and scared. They were glowing faintly in the dark. Jalen took a slow step closer. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The girl didn't move. "I heard you cry," he said gently. "Are you hurt?" She whispered something in her language. Jalen didn't understand, but her voice shook. Her hands trembled. Her clothes were wet and torn. One side of her face had a bruise. She was clearly starving. "I won't leave you here," Jalen said softly. He took off his jacket and bent down. The girl flinched, pulling away, but she was too weak. She couldn't run. She just stared at him with sad, tired eyes. Jalen slowly placed his jacket around her. "You must be freezing." He looked around. No one was in sight. No one had helped her. No one cared. "Where's your family?" he asked. She looked down and whispered, "Mama." Jalen's chest tightened. He couldn't leave her like this. "All right," he said, "and come with me. Let's get you warm." The girl didn't respond, but she didn't fight either. He gently picked her up. She was light, far too light for a child her size. He held the grocery bag in one hand and the child in the other. Back at his apartment, he turned on the heater and laid her on the couch. She didn't say a word, just watched him quietly. "I'll get you some food," Jalen said. He made warm soup and brought it to her. She took it slowly, as if not sure it was real. Then she ate faster, like someone who hadn't tasted food in days. Jalen gave her a soft towel to dry off and brought out one of his clean shirts. It was big on her, but warm. After she changed, she sat quietly, knees to her chest, watching him. "You can stay here tonight," he told her. "Tomorrow we'll figure out what to do." The girl finally whispered, "Thank you." Jalen smiled, though he still had questions. Later that night, he placed a blanket over her as she lay on the couch, already half asleep. But around midnight, he heard something again. A scream. He rushed out of his room. The girl was shaking, eyes wide, breathing fast. She spoke fast in her language, hands clutching the blanket. Jalen knelt beside her. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now." She didn't understand the words, but she saw his eyes, his calm voice, his kindness. Slowly, her shaking stopped. She lay back down, still breathing fast but calmer now. Jalen sat beside her until she finally closed her eyes. He stared at her face. Bruises. Fear. So young. So alone. And in his mind, one question, repeated. Where was her mother, and why? Why had no one come for her? A place called Safe Morning. Sunlight peeked through the window, casting a soft glow on the quiet room. The little alien girl was still asleep on the couch, wrapped in the blanket Jalen had given her. Her face looked peaceful now. No more shaking, no more crying. Jalen made a cup of tea and sat nearby, thinking. Who was she? Where had she come from? And where was her mother? He didn't have answers, but he knew one thing. He couldn't turn, his back on her. When she finally woke up, she sat up slowly, looking around the room like she was afraid it would disappear. Good morning. Jalen said with a smile. She nodded shyly but didn't speak. I made breakfast, he added, pointing to the table. The smell of food made her eyes widen. She followed him quietly and sat down. He placed a plate of eggs and warm bread in front of her. She looked at it, then at him, like she was asking for permission. It's okay, he said. Eat. She took small bites at first, then faster. Jalen noticed her hand still shook a little when she held the spoon. What's your name? He asked gently. She looked up. Her voice was quiet. Leary. Leary, he repeated with a smile. Nice to meet you. I'm Jalen. She blinked a few times like she was trying to remember the sound of his name. After breakfast, Jalen set up a small corner for her. He placed a pillow, a warm blanket, and a stuffed bear he had found in storage. Leary sat there, hugging the bear, tightly, still watching everything around her. Jalen knelt beside her. Do you know where your mother is? Leary didn't answer at first, then she whispered, Bad men took her. Jalen felt something twist in his chest. Do you remember where? She nodded slowly. Big street, bright lights, near the tall signs. It wasn't much, but it was a clue. That afternoon, Jalen walked her to the edge of the alien sector, a part of the city where humans rarely went. Signs were written in alien language. People stared. Leary held Jalen's hand tightly. Are you sure this is the way? He asked. Leary pointed to a narrow path between two buildings. Mama said to hide there, when they came. Jalen followed her down the path. It led to a small open space with trash piles and broken machines. Leary stopped near a metal door. She told me to run. I ran, but she didn't come. Her voice cracked. Jalen placed a hand on her shoulder. You did nothing wrong, Leary. You were brave, a voice called from behind. You shouldn't be here, human. Jalen turned. An old alien stood there wearing a hood. His eyes were tired but sharp. I'm looking for her mother, Jalen said, gesturing to Leary. The old alien looked at the girl. His eyes softened. That child is lucky to be alive. Do you know where her mother is? Jalen asked. The alien looked around, then whispered, Follow me. He led them to a side street, then into a dark hallway behind a broken shop. The walls were cracked, the floor covered in dust. The alien stopped. She was taken to the old zone, near the power lines. No one goes there anymore. Why? Jalen asked. Because those who go there don't return. Jalen looked down at Leary, who held his hand tighter. Thank you, he said to the old alien. The alien nodded. Be careful, human. That place is cursed. Back at home, Jalen sat on the floor beside Leary. Do you want me to find her? He asked. Leary looked up, her big eyes filled with tears. She nodded. I miss her, she whispered. Every night I dream she's calling me. Jalen placed his hand gently on her head. Then we'll find her, Leary. I promise. She leaned against him, the fear in her heart slowly replaced by a small flicker of hope. For the first time in days, Leary smiled. And for the first time in years, Jalen felt something he hadn't in a long time. Purpose. A mother's last location. The city was alive with noise, but not where Jalen and Leary were going. They walked together through narrow streets that twisted like a maze. Neon lights flickered above them. Strange signs in alien languages glowed on broken walls. The deeper they went, the fewer humans they saw. Leary kept her hood up. Her hand gripped Jalen's tightly. She was nervous. Her eyes moved quickly, scanning everything. Jalen stayed close and alert. They were deep inside the alien sector now, a place most humans avoided. Even police didn't patrol this area. But Jalen had a mission. He had promised Leary he would find her mother. At the edge of the alien sector stood a tall, rusted gate. Beyond it was a place locals whispered about, the Old Zone. Long ago it had been part of a market, but after a chemical spill and several disappearances it was left to rot. Now only the desperate or the hunted went there. They stopped at the gate. It creaked in the wind. "This is it," Jalen said. Leary nodded. "Mama was taken past here." Jalen pushed open the gate. The hinges groaned loudly. A cold wind blew from inside, carrying the smell of rust and something else. Something rotten. They stepped in. The old zone was quiet. Too quiet. Burned-out lamps hung from the walls. Pipes dripped water. Broken crates and strange tools were scattered across the floor. Leary suddenly pointed to the right. "There," she whispered. "I remember that wall," Mama screamed there. Jalen followed her finger. A concrete wall stood cracked and stained. Beside it, half covered in dust, was a small piece of torn cloth, purple and faded. Leary ran to it and picked it up. Tears filled her eyes. "It's Mama's," she whispered. Suddenly a voice came from the shadows. "You shouldn't be here." Jalen turned fast. A large alien figure stood there, tall, with gray skin and glowing red eyes. He held a long staff and his mouth curled in a sneer. "I'm looking for someone," Jalen said calmly. "No one comes here to look," the alien growled. "Only to disappear." Leary stepped forward, holding the cloth. "Please, my mama. She's here." The alien looked at her, then slowly lowered his staff. His face changed. You're hers?" He stepped back. His eyes narrowed. "She's still alive, but barely. You're too late." "Take us to her," Jalen said firmly. The alien hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me." They walked through a hallway with cracked floors and blinking lights. Finally, the alien stopped at a metal door. "She's inside," he said. "We left her there after the auction failed." Jalen frowned. "Auction?" The alien didn't answer. He walked away. Jalen pushed the door open. The room was small, dark, and smelled like sickness. Chains hung from the walls, and in the corner, lying on thin blankets, was a woman, alien, pale purple skin, thin, eyes closed. Her arms were bruised. She was barely breathing. Leary gasped and ran forward. "Mama!" The woman's eyes opened slowly. She turned her head. When she saw her daughter, her lips trembled. "Leary, is it really you?" Leary hugged her, crying. "I found you. I found you." Jalen stood by the door, silent. The mother looked at him. Her voice was weak. "You human?" He nodded. "Yes. I helped your daughter. She led me here." The mother's eyes filled with tears. "I thought she was gone. I told her to run when the buyers came. I thought they would take me and never stop." "You're safe now," Jalen said. "Both of you." They needed to get her out. Jalen lifted the mother carefully. She was light, like she hadn't eaten in days. He wrapped her in a blanket and carried her while Leary walked beside them. As they left the old zone, no one stopped them, no one dared. Something about the way Jalen moved, the fire in his eyes, warned others not to interfere. Back in his apartment, Jalen laid the mother on his bed. He gave her water. He cleaned her wounds. Leary never left her side, holding her hand and whispering soft words in their language. The mother looked at Jalen with tired, grateful eyes. "You saved my daughter," she said, "and now me. I have no way to thank you." "You don't have to," Jalen replied softly. "You're safe. That's enough." But the mother's eyes lingered on him longer than before. And in that silence, something began. The shack in the dead zone night fell over the city like a heavy blanket. Jalen sat by the window, watching shadows move across the skyline. Behind him, in the soft glow of a table lamp, the alien mother slept in his bed. Her face was pale but peaceful now. Her breathing was slow, no longer labored. Leary slept on a small mattress nearby, curled up like a kitten. One of her tiny hands held her mother's. Jalen sighed. He had only wanted to help for one night, but now he had brought two strangers, one child, one barely alive woman, into his life. And somehow, it felt right. The next morning, the mother, stirred, Her voice was dry and cracked. "Where am I?" "You're in my home," Jalen said gently. "You've been unconscious for almost a day." She looked around slowly. "Leary." "She's right there." Leary woke up too, her ears twitching at the sound of her name. "Mama," she whispered joyfully. The woman reached out and pulled her daughter close. Tears fell freely down her face. Jalen stepped back to give them space, but her voice stopped him. "What is your name? Human?" "Jalen." She blinked slowly. "I'm Kayla." He gave a soft nod. "Kayla, I'm glad you're awake." Later that day, Kayla insisted on sitting up. Her arms were weak, but she tried. Jalen gave her soup and warm water. He helped her walk to the bathroom and back. She moved like someone who had forgotten what safety felt like. "I don't know why you helped us," she whispered. Jalen sat down on the chair beside the bed, because no one else did. Kayla looked away. "They were going to sell me. They tried before but the buyer said I was used, not worth the credits. So they left me to rot in that shack." Jalen's fists clenched. "You were treated like trash." "I was property," she said quietly. "Not a person." "Not anymore," he replied. "Not in this house." That evening, a soft knock came at the door. Jalen opened it carefully. It was the same old alien from before, the one who had warned them. "I came to check if she made it out," the alien said. "She's alive," Jalen replied. "Barely." The old alien nodded. "Then you should know. The ones who owned her, they'll notice she's gone, and they don't forget." "Let them come," Jalen said coldly. "They'll find me waiting." The old alien stared at him. Then he smiled. "You're not like other humans," he said. "You don't just protect, you fight." Then he left. That night, Kayla sat at the edge of the bed while Jalen patched up a small heater. "Jalen," she said softly. He looked up. "You're risking so much for us." He shrugged. "You'd do the same for Leary, so why shouldn't I?" She was silent for a while. Then quietly, she added, "When they caught me, I screamed for someone. Anyone. I knew no one would come. But I still screamed." She looked down. "And then, you came for my daughter. You followed her voice. You followed her tears. You did what I thought no one would." Jalen didn't speak. Kayla looked up at him again. "I was prepared to die in that shack. But now I'm here. Warm. Fed. With my daughter. And you. A stranger." "You're not strangers anymore," he said. Her eyes shimmered. "Then let me ask you something, and please don't laugh." "I won't," he said. She took a deep breath. "If I offered myself to stay, not just as a guest, but something more, would you say no?" Jalen's face turned serious. He walked over slowly, knelt in front of her, and took her trembling hands. "I didn't do this because I wanted something in return," he said. "But if you choose to stay, I won't stop you. You and Leary belong here now if that's what you want." Kayla's lips trembled. Her voice was no more than a whisper. "I want to stay." Outside the apartment, the cold wind howled past empty streets, but inside, a broken family had begun to heal. Not with riches, not with power, but with one simple truth. Kindness creates a new world. The decision that changed everything. The days passed slowly but gently. Kayla no longer looked like the half-dead woman Jalen had rescued from the shack. Her cheeks were no longer hollow. The bruises on her arms had faded. She walked on her own, now weak, yes, but with pride. The kind of pride that came from surviving, and Leary. She laughed again. She helped Jalen cook, arranged his tools in silly shapes, and even drew pictures on his wall with colored chalk. The apartment, once quiet and empty, now echoed with the sound of life. But something was changing. Not outside, but between Kayla and Jalen. One evening, Kayla sat on the small couch, brushing Leary's hair while Jalen prepared dinner. The smell of warm stew filled the room. A small radio played soft music in the background. Leary yawned and leaned into her mother. "She's sleepy," Kayla whispered. "I can carry her to bed," Jalen offered. Kayla smiled softly. "She trusts you more than she trusts anyone now." He picked the girl up gently. Leary's arms automatically wrapped around his neck. She was already half asleep. After laying her down, Jalen returned to the living room. Kayla was still sitting there, but her eyes followed him now, not as a guest or a stranger, but something more. "Jalen," she said quietly, "can I ask you something real?" He nodded and sat across from her. "Why did you help her? I mean, really help her? You could have called the police or walked away, but you didn't." Jalen looked down, thinking. "My little sister. Years ago, she went missing in a refugee camp during the war. No one helped. People saw her crying. They turned their faces. She was never found." Kayla's eyes softened. "So when you saw Leary, I couldn't let it happen again," he said. Kayla's voice shook slightly. "You didn't just save Leary. You gave her hope, and me too." There was silence between them, soft and heavy. Then Kayla stood slowly, walked over, and sat beside him. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You made me feel human again, when even my own people called me worthless." Jalen turned his head. Their faces were close now. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Kayla's eyes searched his for a moment. Then she said something that silenced the air between them. "I want to stay. Not just as a guest. I want to belong here. With you." That night the decision was made. There were no grand gestures, no speeches, no promises written in stars. Only quiet understanding. Only closeness. Only the warmth of two broken souls choosing each other in. The days that followed, changes began. Kayla started helping around the house. She cleaned, cooked, and even helped Jalen repair old tech he brought home from work. She was smart, quick with machines, and soon proved she wasn't just a burden. Leary went to a small learning center nearby. The human children there had never seen an alien girl before, but Jalen had spoken to the teacher beforehand. And soon she had made her first human friend. Every evening the three of them would sit together. They would eat, talk, laugh, live, but peace never lasts forever. One night, as they were having dinner, a loud knock shook the front door. Jalen stood, up fast. Kayla froze. Leary grabbed her mother's hand. The knock came again. Harder. Jalen walked to the door and opened it slowly. 3 figures stood outside. Cloaked, tall, non-human. "Return the property," one of them growled. "She was not yours to take." Kayla stepped forward behind Jalen. Her face was pale. You were the ones who chained me," the tallest alien hissed. "You were paid for, then rejected. That doesn't free you." Jalen's voice turned. Cold. "She's not going anywhere." The aliens laughed. "You'd fight us, human, for her?" Jalen stepped out into the hallway. "She's not your property. She's Leary's mother. She's mine now." His words hung in the air like fire. The tallest alien took a step forward, but Jalen reached behind the door and pulled out a long wrench. Heavy, sharp. "Try me," he said. For a moment, no one moved. Then the aliens backed away slowly. "You'll regret this," one hissed. The door slammed shut. Kayla collapsed into his arms. Leary ran forward and hugged them both. They were scared, but stronger together. That night, Kayla sat beside him on the couch, trembling softly. "You risked your life for me," she whispered. Jalen placed a hand over hers. "You are my life now." She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered back, "Then let me be yours too. Completely." Christa she hid. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the city. But inside Jalen's small apartment, a storm of memories waited to be released. Kayla stood quietly near the window, her arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes were fixed on the morning light, but her thoughts were far away. Behind her, Jalen made breakfast while Leary played with toy blocks on the floor. The sounds of normal life surrounded them, but Kayla felt something heavy inside her chest. She had made a choice to stay. Now it was time to reveal the truth she had carried for too long. After breakfast, Leary ran to her room with a bright smile. Jalen turned to Kayla and noticed the change in her face. "You okay?" he asked. Kayla nodded slowly. "Can we talk alone?" He gestured toward the couch. Of course. She sat down beside him, but she didn't meet his eyes. "There's something I haven't told you," she began. "About my past. About how I ended up in that shack." Jalen waited. Patient. Calm. Kayla took a shaky breath. "I wasn't always poor. I was a ship tech. One of the best in my quadrant. My mate, Leary's father, was an officer. We had dreams, a small home, a good life." Jalen stayed quiet, letting her speak in her own time. "One day during a transport mission, pirates attacked our convoy. They killed most of the crew. My mate stayed behind to slow them down, and he never came back." Her voice cracked. "I escaped with Leary, but without papers, without money, no one helped. I begged for work. I was rejected again and again. I went to the alien embassy. They turned me away." She wiped a tear from her cheek. "Then, one night, I met a trader. He promised work. I trusted him. But it was a trap. He sold me." Jalen's jaw clenched. His hands tightened into fists. "I became part of a system where they don't beat you with fists but with shame. They told me I was too old, too broken, not pretty enough, but they still kept me. For cleaning, for others to laugh at." She looked up at Jalen now, her voice trembling. "I never thought anyone would see me again as a mother, as a woman, as a person." He reached out slowly, gently taking her hand. "I see you," he said softly. "All of you." Her lips parted, eyes widening slightly. "I see a fighter, a survivor, a mother who never gave up." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she didn't look away. "I was scared to tell you. Afraid you'd pity me, or push me away." "Don't pity you," he said. "I respect you." Kayla let out a long breath like she had been holding it for years. And then, she leaned into him, not to cry, but to rest. Later that evening, Kayla sat beside Jalen while he fixed a cracked solar panel on the table. She watched his hands work, calm, skilled, focused. "You're different," she said suddenly. He glanced up, curious. "Most humans would have taken one look at me and turned away." Jalen smirked a little. "I guess I'm not like most." She smiled back, but there was something deeper in her gaze. "Back then, when I was locked in that room, I told myself that if I ever got out alive, I wouldn't let fear rule me anymore." Jalen looked at her carefully. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying—" She reached for his hand. "I want to build something again. A real life. Not just for Leary, but for me." He turned his palm to meet hers, locking their fingers. "You already started," he said softly. That night, when they tucked Leary into bed, she hugged both of them and whispered, "I love it here." Kayla kissed her forehead. "It's your home now." As they turned off the light, Jalen placed a hand gently on Kayla's back. She leaned into him with quiet trust, no longer afraid, no longer hiding. She had shared her scars, and he had accepted them all. But far across the city, in a shadowed office, a red-eyed alien stared at a flickering screen. "She's still alive," he growled. Another figure stepped forward. "Yes, the human took her." The red-eyed alien narrowed his gaze. "Then take her back." Her whisper in the night air was still. Jalen stood on the rooftop of his apartment building, staring at the city lights below. His thoughts were heavy. He knew peace never lasted forever. Not in this world. Downstairs, Kayla was helping Leary into bed. Their voices floated up through the window, soft, warm, full of love. He smiled, then the smile faded. He could feel it. Danger was coming. Inside, Kyla tucked the blanket around her daughter. Leary yawned and turned over, whispering, "Mama, you're not going anywhere, right?" Kayla leaned close. "Never, not without you." She turned off the light, kissed Leary's head, and left the room. When she stepped into the living room, she found Jalen standing near the door, holding something long and metallic. A pipe. Kayla froze. "What's wrong?" she asked. "They found us." Her face paled. "Now?" Jalen nodded. "Soon. Maybe tonight." Kayla stepped closer. "You could still walk away. This fight, it's not yours." He looked at her, steady and calm. "You are." Hours passed. Jalen didn't sleep. He sat in a chair near the door, pipe beside him, boots on ready. Kayla sat across from him, silent. At first, there were no words between them, just the sound of the wind outside, the soft hum of the city, Leary's quiet breathing from the bedroom. Then Kayla stood and walked over to him. She sat on the floor beside his chair and rested her head against his knee. He looked down at her. She looked up at him. "I used to pray for someone like you," she whispered, "even when I stopped believing anyone would come." He placed a hand on her head. "I didn't come to save you," he said gently. "I just couldn't walk away." "But you stayed," she said. "I'll always stay." Kayla reached up and took his hand in hers. Her voice was a trembling breath. "Then take me too, human, not just as a burden, but as yours." Jalen leaned forward. His forehead touched hers. "You already are." Just before dawn, the knock came. Not soft, not polite, hard, angry, cold. Kayla stood behind Jalen as he opened the door. 3 figures waited outside. The red-eyed alien from the shadows stepped forward. "Hand her over. You were warned." Jalen stepped into the hallway. "She's free. She's ours." "She's not a thing," he shouted. "She's a person, a mother, a survivor." The alien hissed and raised his weapon, but Jalen moved first. The fight was short, but brutal. Jalen blocked the first strike, twisted the weapon free, and drove his knee into the alien's stomach. The others rushed, but Kayla screamed a warning. He ducked just in time. 1 hit, 1 swing, 1 fall. The hallway fell quiet. Breathing hard, Jalen stood over the bodies. "Go back to your masters, and tell them, no one takes her again." The red-eyed alien crawled away, defeated. Later that morning, Jalen sat on the floor, bruised but smiling. Kayla pressed a cloth to his bleeding lip. "You didn't have to fight like that," she said softly. "I did." "Why?" He looked at her. "Because you're worth it." Tears slipped down her cheeks again. "But I'm not perfect." "Good," he whispered. "Neither am I." That evening, the 3 of them sat together, Leary between them, a bowl of soup on her lap, a blanket around her shoulders. "Are we safe now?" she asked. Kayla looked at Jalen. He smiled. "Yes, as long as we're together." Leary leaned against her mother. "Then I don't want to go anywhere else." Kayla kissed the top of her head. "Me neither." And Jalen? He looked at the 2 of them. Once strangers, now family. A strange alien girl he had found crying in an alley. A broken woman he had pulled from chains and darkness. Now they were his entire world. That night, Kayla whispered to him once more as they lay beside each other under soft blankets. "I was thrown away, and you gave me a name again, a place, a heart." He kissed her forehead gently. "You gave me a reason to fight again." Their fingers intertwined. No more fear, no more cages. Only a future. Together, the end.